Hello everybody, I almost forgot you were there for a moment. Just 1 second, I just wanted to show you today my beautiful sofa. She never really gets seen on YouTube, you know, and it's been such a shame because she's lovely and she's so comfortable and she's pink. Well, she's sort of pink, she's pink on the top. I've got a grey underneath bit, which sorry, you can't really see that, but it's grey underneath the cover, but she's pink and she's been in my studio for many years, and I usually cover her with junk. She's usually got piles of stuff sitting on, jobs waiting to be done, things all the way across the top, bits of work, and I just thought, I'm having such a big sort out in my studio and it's time for a change. And I thought, well, maybe I could just sit in here and we could do our little weekly chat from me sitting on the sofa. You know, I could be here like this saying, well, this is what artists do, they just lie around all day on the sofa drinking tea. Anyway, no, basically I had a big clear out in here. My daughter had lots of stuff stored here and she's moving that out into her new place that she's been busy with, and so I've got this back to myself, the studio, and what I've done is I've turned things around. I've created some space because we've moved stuff out, and I've been sorting my stuff as well. I've actually created space so my sofa's now turned around and I can sit here and look out at the view, which is absolutely wonderful. As I say, she's been here for many years. I used to do open studios and we used to have 3 artists in here. I used to have a friend who was a printmaker and a friend who was a bookbinder, and we do open studios here for many years. Some of you may even have been here, possibly, and it was like a party, and the sofa was always here for people just to sit on and sit around and look at the art and talk to people. It was absolutely wonderful. We had like parties in here. It was brilliant. Back in the day. So here I am sitting on my sofa thinking, well, what are we going to be doing today? I really don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go pop to my stash and I'm going to get a box of fabrics out, because I find that's a really good way to start, even if it's not what I end up with, you know, even if I change the fabrics, even if I change my mind like I did last time, you know, that's all grist to the mill, isn't it? So I'm going to go and get a box from my stash and bring it and show it to you. So this is what I've picked out. Now this box has got the word embellisher on it because I used to use this box when I did workshops. It's the one I used to get out for. It's just got general mishmash of fabrics, nothing in particular. So it's not really for landscapes, it's not for anything, it's just for embellishing, and it had lots of different kinds of fabrics in it. And from this box I'm just going to select some fabrics and we're going to see where that's going to take us. So thank you for being here, thank you for already subscribing, thank you for your comments. It's really great to connect with you, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next project. We'll see what it's going to be. So I thought we'll just have a little look first of all close up at the colours that I've chosen. I've got this cracking green. It's a lovely lace. It's an absolutely outrageous green, and it goes so beautifully with this kind of strong cerise colour. And then I've got a bit of something a bit more lurid. It's a little bit kind of more challenging, I think. And then there's a bit of this. This is really lovely. It's a sort of it was a sarong, I think, and it's got this lovely pattern on it. So there's some of that. I've got some of this, which is it was a top, a shirt, but again, it's got quite a nice soft open weave to it. And what else? What else have we got? We've got, ooh, look at these two. Look at these. When you put those together, particularly, they seem to just go, wow. I've got this gorgeous mustardy sort of colour, which again picks up this strongness, is that a word? Strength. It's the same sort of strength, I would say, as those three. Those three together go quite well. And this is sort of picking up on a bit of the mustard and a bit of the cerisi pinky sort of colour. And what else have we got? So yes, that was a top. This is a scarf. This was a scarf. This was a scarf. Everything was. It no longer is. Once it gets in here, it's no longer what it was originally. So I quite like this because it's got this very sort of open weave again to it. And this, as I say, this is lovely. So together, I think they're going to create something quite bonkers. So I think that's it. Again, it's about not having too many colours, and these are the colours which just came out of the box for me. The first one I picked out was the very bright pink one, I think. I think I picked that out to start with. And I think perhaps after the greens of the last piece, I was looking for something a bit more contrasting. But these colours have just come up for me. So I'll show you what we're going to do with them next. So what I've done is I've cut up some little bits. Let's cut some little snippets up like this. I just completely random because I've got no idea where I'm going with this. The first thing I've done is picked out the colours, and I'm really quite excited about these colours. I think after the last piece it was like, ooh, how on earth am I going to follow that last piece? It was just quite something how it all came together. And I just think these are just fabulous colours. So even if, as I say, you know, each time you just get a box of things out and you just play with it, and even if it doesn't become anything, you know, it doesn't have to become something, because then there's no pressure. If I start getting under pressure and going, oh, I've got to make something, nothing will come. It's like putting a big clamp on yourself. But if you just get these colours out and you just go, ooh, look at these lovely colours, don't they look great together? I wonder what might come from this. It's about getting curious, I think. Being curious as to what's possible. So they just look lovely together. So the other thing I've done is I've got myself a piece of calico. You can see I've just torn it. I love tearing calico. You get these lovely little rough edges, which I do enjoy. So I'm just going to basically take this over to my embellishing machine and just mess around with it, play about with it. Making a sample is very useful. It's a good way to start. It's a good way to actually get you started in a project if you don't know where you're going, and it's also a good way of seeing what each fabric is going to do when you actually embellish it. So I have a feeling this one will scrunch up quite a lot because it's very fine. This one won't scrunch up quite as much because it's a little bit thicker. The laces, well, they tend to stay more or less as they are. They'll just scrunch in a little bit, but you can always, you know, overlap things so that you break up the patterns. If they've got a distinct pattern, you can just overlap things. So I might overlap some of these pieces together. So I'm just going to take this over to my embellisher and just have a little play around with it. So I'm just going to cut up a few more little pieces. I've done a little bit of embellishing already, which I'll show you in a second. I just want to add a couple more little pieces. I'm cutting up some of this lovely pink chiffon organza-y stuff. Sort of chiffon, I suppose. Wondering where shall I put it? Here. What do you think there? Not so sure. I think I might just there. Oh, we'll put it here. There we go. We'll put it there. Perfect place. So here we go, here's my little sample that I've made, and I'm just loving how these colours have all just, you know, combined together. I've just played with it, and I haven't put any thunking. I've not done any thunking about this. I've done no thunking. I have not thought about it. I've just put pieces on and gone, oh, what shall I put there? What shall I put there? And what I love about it is just how it's almost better than painting, because I don't actually have to mix the colours myself. You know, if you're painting and you're mixing colours, this is why I've never been a painter, I think, because I never quite had the confidence to actually mix up the colours that I wanted. It's so much easier with a fabric when you know it's going to be that colour, and obviously you're going to alter it because you're going to stitch into it, so it will change. And if you lay something over the top of it or underneath it, if you're using an embellisher, and obviously again, you don't have to have an embellisher to do this, it's just that it makes it so much easier and you get a much nicer surface, I think, to stitch into. But you could just be laying pieces down and stitching them down. So I'll show you the other side, which I absolutely think is fabulous. Isn't that just lovely? It's almost made it like a little rug on the other side, because all these lovely colours have come through. And even there's these little black dots from the lace, just little black dots. You know, I mean, this can be a piece in its own right, you know. So you could be just using this as it is. You could be actually working from the other side, and then you could stitch into this. You could do some lovely work with, I don't know, hand stitching into this with big colourful threads. You know, you could really go to town actually on using this side. I think there's so many possibilities. So I don't quite know where this is going, but we will just see. I don't know what size I'm going to make it. I think that's the next thing to choose, is what sort of size actual piece I'm going to make to get us started. And then take it from this sampling situation to actually working the piece. I'm just thinking, do I want to stitch into this at this moment? No, I don't think I do. I'm not going to stitch into it. I actually love the back so much. I don't actually want to put anything on the back. I just want to leave this as this is. Okay, so I've just cut myself quite a big piece, I have to say. For me, this is quite large-ish. This is some of my lovely cotton curtain interlining. Somebody was asking me recently how sort of thick it was, and I have to say it's not very thick. It's not a very thick one at all. But it is the one I get locally, and it's the only one they do, so I always say I'll have some of that please, which makes choosing very easy. So this is quite large, this is quite big for me, this is going to be quite ambitious I think, I'm not sure. I thought I'll start off this time by actually showing you how big it is, which is 25.5 inches by, this must be about 20 or something, oh 17 I would say. There you go, that must be some golden number, mustn't it? 25.5 by 17. So that's nice and easy. I just kind of wasn't quite sure what I'm going to make this time, but we're just going to see how it goes. So what I need next is my big box of lovely, lovely fabrics, which I'm just going to sit and cut into pieces, and then we'll see what comes next. Bit by bit we will pull this piece together. It's always a mystery. The mystery object will be revealed in about 5 weeks time, who knows. In the meantime I've just got fabrics to cut up, which is very exciting. Okay, so let the cutting commence. I'm just going to simply do it piece by piece, and I will show you each item as I cut it up. This is a very pretty little thing. This had some very lovely glitterati down the front here. It's obviously something for your foreign holidays, I think. It's not exactly Cumbrian, I wouldn't say. It's not suitable for this climate, really. She says, sitting here in all our winter clothes because it's snowed. It has actually snowed the last couple of days here. We had gorgeous weather yesterday. It was beautiful. It snowed and snowed and snowed, and then it melted, so I went shopping, and then it snowed and snowed and snowed again, on and off through the day, and it was so beautiful, so pretty to see. But luckily it hasn't really laid. It's a bit frozen this morning, but it just makes everything look very pretty, I think. It takes away the drabness of winter, although I have to say the daffodils are looking a little bit sorry for themselves today. They're all sort of leaning over. But it's still pretty and the sun is still shining, so I'm not complaining. I'm nice and warm and snug in my studio. My studio is actually heated with an air source heat pump, so it's done on green energy, which we put in many years ago. So there we go. And we'll just chop a little bit more off this one. It's such a pleasurable activity, I think, just sitting here, playing with my fabrics, looking out of the window, listening to the birds. The birds are all singing away, which is very nice to hear. They're all trying to make nests and things, and we've got rabbits. We've actually got little rabbits on our land these days, which we never used to have years ago. And I watched one the other day, and it just had a little bit of moss in its mouth, and it disappeared down a little burrow, and I thought, oh, that's so sweet. It was going off to make its little burrow nice and warm and snug. I presume it's having some babies. So anyway, I'll carry on cutting this. I think I'm just cutting it into pieces. I don't think I'm doing any particular sizes. They're just going to come as they are, because obviously if you're going to use an embellishing machine, it's going to scrunch up your fabrics anyway. And I think I'm definitely going to use it for this project. I feel as though this is what the run I'm in at the moment, is doing embellishing. I think it's just kind of got me going. So I apologise if you haven't got an embellisher, or if you're really frustrated and you can't get hold of one, if you're in a country where you can't get hold of one, I do apologise. It must be very irritating that I'm sitting here with my embellisher. But you can do lots and lots of things without an embellisher. I didn't have one for the majority of my artistic career. It's only been the last few years that I've had one. So, you know, you have to cut your, as my mum would say, you have to cut your coat according to your cloth. If you haven't got one, you haven't got one, and you can just be doing other things. There's lots of other things you can do with free machine embroidery. You don't have to have an embellisher. but I'm very grateful that I actually do have one. So I'll cut some green. Oh, this green, honestly, it's almost luminous. It's almost fluorescent. It's got such a bright quality to it. Certainly not something I would wear. I don't know about you. Would you dare wear a colour like that? Is that a colour you would choose to wear? Because if so, you're extremely brave. I could wear it sort of not next to my face, probably. I think it might make me look quite ill if I wore it next to my face. But in a skirt or something, it might be quite nice. So this is the sleeve I'm cutting up now. Nothing is wasted. It's a bit like, you know, when people used to eat a pig, they'd have a whole pig and nothing was wasted, not even the squeak. It's just so pretty, and I think it goes extremely well with that pink. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on cutting my pieces of fabric up into whatever shapes they end up in. That's just absolutely fine, and I will show you where I get to next time. I think it'll be next week now, because it's very much nearly lunchtime here, and you know how I do like to have a nice long lunch. I think a week might be just about the right length of time, don't you? So thank you so much for being here again. Thank you for joining me on this adventure, this textile adventure. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know where you are in the world. Leave me a comment. What do you think about these Larry colours? Would you even wear them? Let me know which ones you would like to wear. I have to say, I'm a lot more daring, I think, in the colours that I cut up for my artwork than I am sometimes in what I actually wear. But there we go. So thank you very much again for joining me in the studio, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful week. Bye for now.
Ba ba